All right, welcome to Sunday Night Fights Extra. My guest this week is the very funny, talented Sara Young. Sara, welcome back to Sunday Night Fights. This is what, your second appearance? Third?
My second appearance. I appreciate this. I have a lot of fun with this. Makes me realize how much time I spend watching movies.
Oh, I,
Maybe not a good thing, but there it is.
I get messages like Christine V was like, Robert's watched way too many movies. I'm like, yeah, I had a lonely childhood.
Yeah. I literally spoke to nobody. My parents moved when I was in ninth grade, and from 10th grade to 12th grade, I spoke to nobody in my new high school. so, so there you go. So it's just a lot of time on my hands to get in trouble and be the person that my parents tried to warn me about. So it's all good.
My best friend was the video store,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
which is sad because the video store could not go to prom with me.
Yeah, no, prom did not happen. The only person that asked me um, was wearing a wife beater that day, and all I could do was stare at his armpit hair, and I was just like, I would rather not go.
Yeah, I actually had a date for prom, but my cousin's bat mitzvah was the same week, the weekend of prom. Our prom was on Thursday. Her bat mitzvah was on Saturday in Los Angeles. So I had to go with my family out to California.
Yeah, no, I had one person ask, and that was like, and I'm like, who are you? You haven't talked to me for 3 years, and now I'm gonna go to prom with you? No, no. So
Thankfully, movies were there to protect us from those horrifying days. Though I would want
exactly.
to know more about the guy who wore a wife beater to your school and why your school did not have any dress code.
Yeah, no dress code. Good old West Bloomfield. And it was a hot summer day, and all I could do was stare at his armpit hair because I'm short and he was tall. And I was like, yeah, no,
That does not
not
sound
gonna happen.
that does not sound appealing at all. Let's talk about something that is appealing. Movies. Do you remember the first movie you saw in a theater?
Yes, it was either my grandmother took us. It was either Bed Knobs and Broomsticks or Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Do you remember what theater it was?
I want to say it was the Americana that was at 9 Mile and Greenfield.
Yes, that's where I first saw Star Wars.
I stood in long line for that. That was monumental.
That was to me the greatest theater ever. Because if I remember correctly, when I was a little kid, for some reason I thought they used to have a balcony in there before they divided it up into many small theaters.
Oh, there may have been. They did at the Farmington Civic. That was a regular movie theater, and they had a balcony, and then it became uh, an adult theater, and then they made it back into an oldie theater.
Well, rewind. The Farmington Civic used to be a porno theater?
Yeah.
When?
Oh, golly. Because they asked for Farmington, very happy about that. I was young. I'm gonna say like 30 years ago, maybe. It was a long time ago.
I I can't I just always remember being a dollar theater.
Yeah, no, it was an honest to goodness theater and with the balcony, and then they subdivided it, and it was an adult theater, and then they went back to the dollar theater, and um, the balcony was closed for a long time. It was basically condemned. They were worried you'd fall through this floor, and they had to rebuild it.
I remember the Kegel Harbor Theater became a porno theater because when we would go to Chuck E. Cheese as a kid, um, there were people protesting in front of it.
Nice.
And my parents had to explain to me that they showed naughty movies there. And I was like, okay. Just as long as Chuck E. Cheese did not become a porno theater.
That would be an interesting twist of all genres.
Yeah, I mean, if they had the puppet, those animatronics having sex, I would go see it. I would pay money.
Well, there's uh murder in Happy Time. Oh my gosh.
The Melissa McCarthy movie.
Yes.
I refuse to see it because
Oh,
it looks like a very sanitized version of either Meet the Feebles.
no, no, it is not at all. It is so beyond boundary. It's insane how wrong and filthy it is. It is one of the funniest ones. You have to look at it. It's not sanitized in any way, shape, or form. Team America, World Police. This is worse than that.
Have you seen Meet the Feebles?
Yeah, parts, not all of it. But this isn't sanitized.
Okay. All right, because there are two puppet movies that I think are the greatest. Meet the Feebles, which is Peter Jackson's best film. I mean, to me, I don't count anything after Heavenly Creatures. Like none of the Hobbit movies, I've never seen any of them. And this movie that's weirdly enough classifies a porn, but it's not one. It's called Let My Puppets Come. It's the most genius film I have ever seen. It's directed by this guy named Gerard Damiano, who is famous for I think Deep Throat. But this movie just has puppet sex, and it's a musical, and it's
genre crossing. That's awesome.
it should. I mean, today it would be just an NC-17 R-rated film, but it's just one of those anomalies of mid-70s coked up weirdness.
Yeah, no, this is yeah, no, you need to see the Happy Time Murders. It's not sanitized at all. It is so incredibly wrong and so funny.
You know what? We don't have a sponsor for this podcast, but if we did, it would be justwatch.com. Justwatch.com is where you type in any movie, TV show, and it'll let you know where it's streaming, if it's streaming for free or if you have to pay for it.
That would be fantastic.
It's an amazing app, justwatch.com, and they should really sponsor this, and maybe our viewership will go up to more than 10 people. So
yeah, no, that's I'm justwatch.com, man. I'm taking notes.
yeah, it's an amazing website. So let's get into it. 5 films that impacted you. What would be the first one on your list?
First one on my list, I have Hair.
Hair, the 78, 79?
It was 78 or 79. I was far too young. Another one, I was at the Americana, and just that just was huge. It's actually on my musical list too. And the whole the theater was packed, and you're watching this, and a lot of these movies, the ending, they didn't pull away from the ending, and you just sat there and you were just gutted by the ending, and the whole theater just sat there in silence when the movie ended. Everyone was just like blown away.
I think Hair is amazing. Milos Forman directed it, right?
That I don't know.
I'm gonna
But when Rent came through, everyone was like, "Oh, Rent!" And I'm like, Rent is just the current Hair. It's just it is what it is. Hair just paved the way for so much.
Yeah, 1979. Milos Forman directed it. But what I think is amazing about Hair, it's a who's who of people who kind of became famous a little bit later.
Yeah.
I mean, John Savage, Treat Williams, and Beverly D'Angelo starred in it.
But,
yeah. And I'm going to say I saw the movie for the first time maybe about a year ago. Mrs. Garrett from Facts of Life is in it.
Is dancing on the table.
Yeah. But no, you're right. The movie it's a heavy movie. And
yeah, it was the first one where I was sitting there and it was just like, no, they're going to come and rescue him. He's not going to get on the plane. What do you mean he's getting on the plane? This isn't how it's supposed to happen. And he's on the plane. It's like, well, he's going to come back. And then he does, but not alive. And it's just like, choo, and just the whole culture. Let's see, 79, I would have been like 12 or 13.
Wow.
So that was probably way too young to watch something like that. But a lot of these are kind of, my parents, didn't, they felt if I had questions, or I wasn't comfortable, I would talk to them about it, which I wouldn't have, but let me make my own decisions. And, I can't see parents of something equivalent um, now letting, their 12-year-old, yeah, you go watch all these drugs and random sex and, all this stuff. That's just, not age appropriate.
But like for me, going to the video store, like as long as I didn't go behind the beaded curtain, I could rent whatever I wanted. Like, you'd go to the video store, you'd want to get the new release, but all of those were already gone by the time you got there. You had to get on the reserve list, and you're walking down. Oh, this box cover looks awesome, and
Right.
all of a sudden I'm absorbed into this world of Italian horror that I should never have watched at a young age. But going back to Hair, what I think is great about it, the movie starts off so light, so festive when John, God, I can't remember his name, John Savage.
I think so.
Yeah, John Savage walks into the park and everyone's singing on it. This is the age of Aquarius. Everyone's happy, and you get this false security that the movie is a happy film, and it kind of goes with his journey of hanging out with these hippies. Kind of, what was he? He was a farm boy from Kansas, or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, and his parents had him stick a dollar or 20 or something in his boot so that he'd have some extra cash. And yeah, and he was hot for Beverly D'Angelo, and they were making him chase her.
Yeah, and it just
dragged her into it, and he wound up replacing Treat Williams because that's who he was supposed to go, and Treat Williams wound up going for him. He stayed part of that culture.
You gotta think the Army should have known better.
Right? You cut a guy's hair and you can't tell.
No, it's just like, all right, where is Beck? Oh, you look nothing like him. All right, everyone's going. And they should have just realized when he got over there, he probably couldn't shoot worth a hell of beans.
Well, I have a friend who is an artist. He does incredible oil and acrylic paintings, and he's a personal trainer, and he doesn't see you as you are when you get to him. He sees who you are inside, because he's the one that helped me lose so much weight. And I pulled up an old picture, and he says, I have no memory of you looking like that. You never looked like that to me. And I was just like, wow. But he was in the reserves, and when Desert Storm and all those were going, he was hoping he'd be pulled up. And I said, I will never apologize for being happy that you didn't get sent overseas. And how can you do that? How can you be this artist and want to do that? And he says, they basically brainwash you. You're in that situation, this is how you react, and this is what happens. You put all personal stuff aside. It's brainwashing. And I was like, that's scary.
Yeah, I would have been a Beetle Bailey in the Army. just not as efficient in slackiness as he was. So let's talk. So you saw Hair actually saw in the theater at the Americana.
Yeah.
Did you grow up in Southfield before you moved to West Bloomfield?
Oh yeah, off of 9 Mile between Greenfield and Coolidge.
Interesting. I when I was a wee lad, I lived in Oak Park at 9 Mile and Coolidge.
Yeah, we Marlowe. It's right in the middle. We were 6 houses off of 9 Mile.
Yeah, I used to go to Oak Park all the time.
Yes, I have the road burns on my legs from learning that when you're on your Schwinn and going down the hill at Oak Park, you don't hit your brake. Because then you do a face plant and you get road rash all the way down your legs, and your best friend has to go and get your mom to come get you because you can't walk.
I went there a few weeks ago and sat on the hill and took some edibles, and the hill was not as big as I remember it being. I used to go to this gigantic mountain. No.
I think it came down in size when they remodeled and redid the park. They took it down.
That's crazy. I'm going to say they had to do that because it was up to the sky when I was 3 years old.
Yeah, no, and it was up to the sky when I face planted and came halfway down on my face. So
I'm
I
sorry.
don't recommend it.
All right. So back to the Americana. Do you think like there was some sort of that theater was kind of majestic back then?
Hmm.
It feels like movie theaters today are not. I mean, movie theaters aren't open right now, but
Well, I think it was like the first big complex rather than just one theater, small theaters. It was the first one that had multiple screens, and it was just impactful. There wasn't one. There wasn't. You didn't have video stores back then. You didn't have any way to rewatch it. The only way to rewatch a movie is to go and pay your money and see again. And I think it was more impactful then. So if you love something, you were shelling out your money each time you saw it.
or you had to wait till it came on television.
Yeah.
And then you saw those dreaded words at the bottom of the screen edited for TV.
Or if you were homesick, you had to wait for Sir Graves Ghastly to play something decent, or a Bill Kennedy at the movies.
I,
Uh,
there are a few clips of Bill Kennedy at the movies on YouTube. And for those of you who are way younger, Bill Kennedy was this drunken host on Channel 50 every day at 1 o'clock. And he, I guess he was a bit actor at some point who knew way too much about Hollywood.
well, them. So there was that. There was Sir Graves Ghastly, and there was the Ghoul. And then the Ghoul was get drunk or stoned and watch that on a Saturday night.
I remember the Ghoul, and I vaguely remember Sir Graves Ghastly. Vaguely.
He was in really bad vampire makeup and would come out of his coffin and would show not very scary movies like The Blob and things like that.
There was one movie I do remember seeing on there. It was a Rankin Bass film called Mad Monster Party. And to me, that's one of my favorite, like, I don't want to say horror spoofs, but kid horror movies. Because
Yeah.
I just love the little puppets. All right, what is number 2 on your list?
Number two hit me the same way. Harold and Maude.
Harold and Maude. I don't know who directed that one, but it has the very powerful Cat Stevens soundtrack to it.
Oh, that was that I that was before they sold soundtracks, and I hunted down every single, made my own mixtape of the soundtrack. That was my love of Cat Stevens, and then Ruth Gordon and
Bud Court.
Bud Court. Yep. And that was another one where it's just like, no, she's going to be fine. What do you mean she took the pills? It's just like, no. And it's just, I was full of a lot of the same angst that Harold was going through, and similar disagreements with my parents, and just the whole Maud introducing him to all the vices that are out there, and just the age switch. And what do you mean you're getting married to a sunflower? It's like he flips the card over. Um,
Uh,
just the darkness of it all. That was fantastic.
it was, in my opinion, it was a Wes Anderson film 30 years before Wes Anderson.
Yeah, but
But
yeah, that's just. I mean, that could almost be a musical just because the soundtrack was just so powerful.
yeah, I think it's one of the best use of music in the history of film. I think it ushered in how music, how the soundtrack, a pop music soundtrack, could be so impactful to a movie.
Yeah, it helped make the movie. Just just the Maud's character when they're in the field with all the daisies, and she says the problem is, you're this, which is actually very unique, and everyone sees himself as this, and it's the whole field. And she says, everybody is that special. Just her whole take on life, and her key ring with every single key on it, so she could steal the beetle from the pastor. That was all just. Uh, that not answered a lot of questions, but that made it okay for me to feel what I was feeling.
And
Uh,
that's what a good movie does. It makes you feel or brings you into a world that you're not familiar with. Again, this was a movie I didn't see I didn't see it during my formative teenage years. I saw it, God, probably after college for the first time at a revival showing. And what struck me was it was an innocent film.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, this is I think it was maybe the Dollar. It hit the Dollar theaters when I first saw it, but I remember just sitting there with my parents had moved, so I was probably about 15, and I knew I was angry, and I knew why I was angry, but my parents decided that you have to talk to somebody because they didn't know what to do with my anger. And just watching Harold just not care about being there and just dressing the way his therapist dressed and just totally blowing him off. I was just like, all right, I'm not alone in this, it's, my mother kept making me go to different places, and then I finally found one where she said, um, you have to come 3 times. And then I got your mother to promise that if nothing happens, then, she'll stop bothering you. And I'm like, all right. So I had 3-hour-long, really expensive naps. And then my mom stopped pestering me. But one lady, it was like Harold's, she says to me, if you could be any animal in the entire world, what animal would you be on our one session? And I said, an aardvark. And she says, an aardvark? Oh, that means why? And I said, because you have no idea what an aardvark means. That's why I'm an aardvark.
I would have said platypus because the platypus is nature's joke.
Yeah, but I'm like, yeah, aardvark, because you have no idea what to do with that. So, it's, I obviously came through fine, but that was also just, I'm like, all right, someone else is being forced to go and doesn't want to go, and it's okay. It'll be fine.
Why do you think Bud Cort never had a real career in Hollywood?
I don't know. I don't know if it was because I can't think much of anything else that he did except for the Kevin Smith Dogma
He was in
match.
briefly in Dogma. He was in Wes Anderson's Life Aquatic briefly. He was on an episode of Criminal Minds as a kidnapper.
Oh, I remember that.
And it's like, here he was. I will say he was one of the first alts. I don't know if alt cinema was actually a term in what was that movie, 1968, 69.
I think so.
Like he was at that. He would have been the male equivalent to like a Christina Ricci.
Yeah.
Back then, and it seemed like his career kind of stalled, but he was never I'll probably look it up afterwards that he was on Broadway and he was the toast of the town on that, but
I don't think he was. I don't know. Just not where his path took him. I guess that's something interesting to research and just see where he went.
yeah, I mean he's still out there and kicking. Like he did play God kind of in Dogma.
This is true.
I have to ask, please tell me there is no Kevin Smith movie on your list.
No, there is not.
Okay. Because you do know I have a disdain for the film career of Kevin.
I do, and it makes me laugh. I do.
So I just ordered like a month ago the new release of Mallrats coming out from Arrow Video because as much as I hate him, I'm also a completist for the fucking View Askew universe films. And I'll curse myself after watching it.
Oh, well, I don't know. He has his place. It's kind of fizzled. It's the same stupid jokes, same characters, nothing fresh. I think if he could keep it fresh, he would have done better. But James Silent Bob again and yet again, and it's the same things over and over. It's not as sparkling and the first time you saw it, it was pretty revolutionary. The 12th time you see it, it's just not.
Well, I mean, I'll say Clerks is a great film because it came out when I was working in retail, right? Where I was a Dante / Randall. But enough about me. What is the third movie on your list?
Rocky Horror Picture Show, because that caught me first, and then big fan of the semi-sequel, Shock Treatment.
Well,
Again, both of those can be on my musical list.
we will say Shock Treatment is the better of the two movies.
Yeah, my let's see. So that came out in '76.
Shock Treatment, I think it was 81.
No, yeah, and but Rocky Horror was like 78, 76, 78. And I was thinking about this. How did we even know that these things were out there? Because you didn't have social media and you didn't have all this. But I remember that I knew about it, and I was just alt and dark, and anything that was just bizarre, I was all about it. And and my mom is game for stuff like that. I mean, we watched Eating Raoul together and just a whole bunch of dark stuff, and we think it's hilarious. And so she took my dad to one to see what it was about, and it was in the middle of the heyday, so everyone dressed up, and you had your whole kit that you took every week with the rice and the toast and the water guns and everything. And she took my dad, who fell asleep because he could sleep anywhere, and she thought it was fun, so she took me and my friends. So I was 15. So, and she took me and my friends the first couple times, and then I turned 16, and I went pretty much every single weekend forever. I have more than well over 100 viewings of that in the theater with all the friends, and then we'd go to the Denny's 24 hours afterwards and eat meatloaf, and it was just awesome. I just being alternative, thinking different things. Yeah, I had it all down cold, all the lines, and I would dress as not Magenta, the one with the real squeaky voice. I could sing her part, and I'd run down to the front and do that with her as she was doing the time warp.
I want to rewind that. That's awesome. But here's how people knew about it. It was called the Older Sibling Social Network.
I have no older siblings.
But you were in school, and you would be in a class, and someone would go, my older brother or sister took me to the Rocky Horror Picture Show. And
Really?
they would explain it, that it was a musical, but it was a little dirty. And you're all ears. You're like, ooh, this is forbidden. And you heard about, like, people, they would talk about in the news, oh, there was at the place in Southfield, Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yeah, Town Center.
Yes, the Town Center. I mean, that's where I saw it first. I worked at Kmart on 14 in Orchard Lake, and we would go to see movies every Friday or Saturday. We'd go see The Wall after work. Then we went and saw Rocky Horror. It was easy to get away with it for seeing The Wall because I didn't come back with rice in my hair. And hold on for 1 second. But no, I mean, I think Rocky Horror was a rite of passage.
Oh man, I could put The Wall on my list somewhere too.
But I mean, it was the king of the midnight movies. It was Rocky Horror. It was The Wall. It was Eraserhead. And if you had friends who found a place where they showed El Topo, it was El Topo.
And heavy metal also for a while.
Yeah, I mean, the Town Center every Friday and Saturday night they would have late movies. It was all be Rocky Horror, and Rocky Horror was there, but then Novi, 12 Oaks, they would have different late night movies at the theater there.
Yeah, no, I saw Rocky Horror well over 100 times. I'm very proud of it. It was so much fun.
What's your favorite song from that one?
Oh, probably the Time Warp, just because I had my solo with Little Nell. That was her. That was the actress. I had my Little Nell solo, and people would like expect it from me, and I go running down and belting out Little Nell and tripping on the stairs when she trips. Yeah, it was fantastic.
My favorite songs, I like Time Warp, but that was the hit. That was the one everyone knew. I do love Science Fiction Double Feature.
Yeah.
And I do like Damn It, Janet, just because of the choreography at that point. And
yeah.
It's weird. Like the first time I saw it, I didn't realize it was Tim Curry. God, I can't remember the name of the character. Magenta and guy with the hunchback.
Riff Raff.
Riff Raff. They were the minister and people who worked at the church.
Yeah.
And I like the song where they're about to eat Eddie. I think it's
yeah, just he was a no good kid, not good, not bad. I should be dead. Hey, he spelled it right. You know?
It's a fun movie, but the first time I saw Shock Treatment, I thought it was a better film.
Yeah, no, Shock Treatment. I don't remember where I saw that one, but Shock Treatment. I love his work, and he only did the 2, and I'm sad because Shock Treatment. A real shock treatment, and it's just like, oh my God, real live wire. Just that whole alt. Shock Treatment was kind of like Talking Heads. Stop making sense.
You mean True
Stories? Was it True Stories?
True Stories was the fictional film. Stop Making Sense was the concert film.
Yeah, no, True Stories. It was, Shock Treatment and True Stories kind of just cohabitate in my brain together. Same kind of alternative world.
But yeah, well, I mean, at least True Stories took place in this entire town. Shock Treatment, because of I think a writer's strike or some sort of strike, it was filmed just in one location.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's weird. Like in the poster for Shock Treatment goes, it's not a prequel, it's not a sequel, it's an equal, which was stupid because it definitely is a sequel because Brad's best friend who got married at the beginning is in there and he's on his second marriage. The woman he's married to is one of the main characters, so it's definitely a sequel. But I think the music is better. I like Denton, the song Denton Denton that opens that film, Little Black Dress. And it has Jessica Harper from Suspiria and Rick Mayall from The Young Ones, Bottom, and
Young Ones. There's another Brit classic. Oh my God.
I put down on my list of Britcoms my favorite one.
Yeah, no, we have a lot of similar tastes, just a lot of Britcom and Black Books and just like it's like, oh my God, so funny.
We will probably have to do one on Britcom. I'm going to do one for one of these live ones for Best Sketch Comedy Show because I got a lot of slack for not putting Chappelle in the top 10.
I'm surprised that Monty Python was so low, and I know Bill Morrison would go down swinging on, Benny Hill.
So Benny Hill is funny to young Robert because there's one joke on there I still remember with the old guy. It's one of those dancing sequences where it was. Well, the woman goes, "What are you?" The old guy goes, "I'm trisexual. I'll try anything." I just think
another one that wasn't on your list, Mr. Bean. Oh my God, Mr. Bean.
I hate Rowan Atkinson.
Oh, but he doesn't say a word, and he's just so funny.
Same reason for Blackadder, and Blackadder was co-created and written by Ben Elton, who is Young Ones. He wrote this amazing book called Popcorn. I think Ben Elton's a genius, but I can't get past Rowan Atkinson. Like, he even did a Doctor Who spoof that I thought ruined Doctor Who for me. Thankfully,
that's a lot of power.
Yeah. Same thing with Sandra Bullock. I can't stand Sandra Bullock. She makes me sick. Only time I can actually stand Rowan Atkinson is in the movie Love Actually because I can fast forward through his annoying sequences, the guy putting all that stuff into the present. But back to Rocky Horror. Do you think the movie, because it's no longer shown in theaters on a regular basis, still has the same impact?
I think the original people want it to, and they're like, oh, it's Halloween, we have to go see it, but then it's all white. Oh, you can't take rice, and you can't take anything with you, and you can just sit there and yell at the screen. And like, that's not Rocky Horror. That's just not.
I saw it back in 2013. Again, the Halloween showing in a theater in Kansas City. They allowed rice and they allowed squirt guns and everything. And
like the Redford Theater had it, but didn't let you bring anything, and I'm just like, no, it's just not. It's not the same.
Well, the Redford Theater is all classy and prestigious and has fucking intermissions during movies that aren't supposed to have intermissions.
Exactly. So I was just like, yeah, hard pass. That's just not what it is. It's supposed to be dirty and crazy and just over the top. And it's just, you just don't sit there and just yell from your seat. It's just not what you do.
No, no, no. It's a movie where the cues are set up for you to be stupid and just follow the unscripted script. Here right now is the most horrifying thing about Rocky Horror. Disney owns it.
I'm just pretending I don't know that.
Disney owns Rocky Horror.
That's so wrong. And Tim Curry, he had like a massive stroke and he's like trying to come back, but he's beat up. It's current pictures. Oh, that just is. Tim Curry is one of my favorite people. Clue was another one that I just love him in.
I thought he was dead.
No, he's still around, but he's not well.
Wow, I had no idea.
Yeah, he was in Oscar. He was hilarious in Oscar with Sylvester Stallone and Marissa Tomei. And
that was 20 years ago.
yeah. But no, this is more recent. There was a picture. There was like a revival or a reunion, and he was there, but he's not doing well. So he's basically just in quarantine before quarantine was a thing, just trying to come back. But yeah, he's not doing well, but he's still around. But that just hurts because that's just you keep him in your mind, and that's how he's supposed to stay, and
Yeah, I mean that's why James Dean faked his death, just so he could be remembered for those 3 films, and walked away. I'm starting that conspiracy right now that he is still alive. What is the next movie on your list?
The original Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Gene Wilder.
You mean Willy Wonka?
Willy Wonka. Yeah, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is the book, but the original Willy Wonka.
I think that's a fantastic movie.
That the whole thing is so good, and that's one of my musicals. All the music in it, and just if you have a 100 Wonka bars and you have 6 of them, you have 6%. 6 over 100, 6%. And how many did you have? One. Well, I can't figure out one, so let's pretend that you had 10 of them.
Oh, it's such a good movie, and I mean the scene where Jack Albertson gets out of bed for the first time is just. It's such a wonderful film. The colors are so rich. When you get into the Chocolate Factory, it's like I saw the movie before I saw the book, but I can imagine going, how the hell are you going to make this, especially in 1970, whatever. And
yeah, no, I have, that's one of the few hardcover books that I've held on. Roald Dahl, all his stuff is James and the Giant Peach, and this. His books are just what happens when you're a little kid and you're bored, and James ends up living in the Giant Peach with all these weird characters, and you're like, yeah, that could happen, and Charlie, Willy Wonka, and yeah, that could happen. There's a drawing at the end, and Violet is all stretched out because they had to squeeze all the juice out of her, or Mike TV is all stretched out because he shrunk himself, and they had to put these people back together, and there's this line drawing, and it's kind of chilling because they don't look like happy people. They got out with their lives, but barely.
But what a horrible way to find an heir to the Wonka fortune. What could have been an easier way?
Well, it's just like, no, you won it all, Charlie. You did something wrong, but you admitted it, and you didn't sell me out to Slugworth, who was working for me all along, and all these nasty, horrible children. And no, I want more. I need it now.
I had a crush on Veruca Salt when I was a kid.
Violet, you're turning violet. Violet, shut up, Dad. Here comes the dessert. It's always the dessert.
I wanted my own Oompa Loompas to come out and sing a song whenever I did something bad. I think that would be the worst punishment ever, to hear Oompa Loompas.
It's like, oh, dang, I'm doomed.
But no, I mean, even worse, you'd be in a situation and there they'd come. It's like, all right, now everybody knows what I did. Oh, and I'm
Exactly. Snozzberry. Whoever's heard of a Snozzberry?
oh, it's such a beautiful film. I mean, Gene Wilder had an amazing career after that, but
Oh, and it was the way it was because of him. He changed the ending. There was a whole different ending, and he's like, "No, I won't do it unless you fix it." And that he had a huge part in how that movie played out.
oh, he was just a genius. And I mean, Stir Crazy, Silver Streak, this was on a roll, but he had, I mean, also Blazing Saddles, but he wasn't in Blazing Saddles.
Yeah, yeah. He was the fastest gun in
Yeah.
Blazing Saddles. Yeah, he helped. Mel wrote that. He was behind Young Frankenstein also.
I mean,
He and Mel collaborated on those.
3 iconic roles, which is more than a lot of actors can say. I mean, Young Frankenstein, Willy Wonka, Blazing Saddles, and then Silver Streak and Stir Crazy. But I mean, fuck it, there are memes with the Willy Wonka character these days.
There's a million memes.
He's
You're really. So that's interesting. So you really think this? It's like, oh, Gene, I miss you.
he transcended pop culture.
Yeah.
Such a great film. And weirdly, not weirdly, it still holds up. Today, it's like it's weird when you watch movies even from 5 years ago and the technology isn't up to date. Like
Well, this is the movie that you'll hate because of who's in it, but The Net with with her and just like watching it is just hilarious because they had to get a floppy disk that holds no memory whatsoever, but they had to download this huge program to upload this bug, and it doesn't hold up. It's just so funny at this point.
well, it's like the movie Swingers, which I think is a fantastic film. But then you have Jon Favreau talking about how he's going to make a call, and don't worry, it's not long distance because he has a calling card. And I was around back then. I'm like, I remember calling cards barely. And long distance is no longer even a fucking thing. And
No, we have a family Zoom, and we've had people from Thailand and Hawaii and California and the East Coast and us, and all on at the same time, and it costs nothing. It's crazy.
speaking of Zoom, I don't know if you saw this. I think it came out yesterday. A live read of Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
I did not see that.
I'll send you a link. Shia LaBeouf is just Macaulay.
Oh, nice.
Jennifer Aniston is the Phoebe Cates character, Linda. Julia Roberts is Stacy. Brad Pitt is Brad Hamilton. And Sean Penn, I haven't got far enough to figure out who he's playing, but he's in there.
He's probably the teacher.
No, Ray Liotta is Mr. Hand.
Nice.
I'm like, this is awesome. I want to actually do that where we get a bunch of Detroit comedians to read a movie. And I have to.
I'd be down. That'd be so much fun.
It's going to be a porno.
Of course.
I'm going to find a script for that. I just want it to be awkward as fuck. or it'll be the Canon Movies classic, The Last American Virgin.
There you go.
I just have to find the script and the people to do it. I want to find something that's very lowbrow. All right, what is the next?
People would have fun with that.
Yeah.
Okay, number 5, another movie that just it didn't pull away and it ended the way it was supposed to. 4 Weddings and a Funeral.
I've never seen that one.
Oh man, yeah, no. I like what's his face?
Hugh Grant.
Guy.
Hugh Grant.
Is it Hugh Grant? Well, I'm getting him and Hugh Jackman. Yeah, Hugh
Yeah.
Grant. Yeah, Hugh Grant and Andy McDowell, and all my friends were getting married at that time, and his character is just hilarious. But the funeral is in there, and again, it's just like, this can't be happening. This just that you it can't be happening, but it does, and it's part of the story, and that's worth a look. So it's like most of these are, the movie ended and then just like sitting there and just like, what just happened? That's not how it's supposed to work. It's supposed to be happily ever after, but these are brave enough to not be happily ever after.
I think that's important to films. Like, I'm going to actually bring back The Last American Virgin. Um, in my memory, it was the first film I saw that didn't have a happy ending. The guy did not get the girl.
Yeah.
And that kind of threw me for a loop. And again, I haven't seen Four Weddings and a Funeral, but I like movies where the ending surprises you. Where it's like,
I do too. And so the Sixth Sense, I it, he came out too big. That was too perfect and too awesome, and following that with anything else is going to be a disaster.
I figured out the ending halfway into it.
Did you? Because Ben, my husband, usually is just like, oh no, I know the ending, and he's always right. But that one is just, there was so much secrecy, and people that saw it would not tell you how it ended, and just there was a protective bubble around that. That was a lot of fun that I can't remember in recent times with anything else. But
I I am a big fan of Twilight Zone, and I would, as a writer, I would study those episodes to figure out how they kind of foreshadowed what the twist ending was. And Sixth Sense was a 2-hour Twilight Zone.
true.
And the first thing that you noticed when they were sitting at the table together, him and his wife, and she was not saying a word, you would think it was an argument. But they came in pretty heavy of the kid going, I see dead people, blah, blah, blah.
And then everything that was touched by somebody that had passed was red.
Yeah.
But yeah, he still that was pretty impactful. But I mean, not enough for my top five, but um, just not being able to know instantly. But yeah, Twilight Zone. I have all the I watched. You can stream like the entire series, and I have been steadily through this, just a couple a day, going through the whole collection. That's just, Rod Serling was just incredible.
You can stream them all except the 60-minute episodes that Sterling did, which are only available on the DVD set and Blu-ray. But those episodes are really hit or miss.
Yeah.
It was perfect for 30 minutes.
Yeah, the Taki Tina with Telly Savalas.
That
So
was a freaky one.
well, so at the time I watched it. It was on channel 50 in the afternoon, and I watched it. And my grandmother, when she traveled all over the world. She would bring me back a doll from wherever she was in the world, and these were all look but don't touch dolls. And I had just rows and rows and rows of all these dolls in my room. And then I'm watching Talkie Tina, and then my parents like, you have to go to bed. I'm like, I'm not going into my room. I am not going into my room. You can't make me with all these dolls staring at me. Not gonna happen.
My favorite one, it's also the one that scared me the most, was the mannequins.
Yeah.
Because I was
Well, he did that a couple times.
no, it was the one the mannequins get to go out in the world for a month and then come back, and she's like,
Blonde lady.
I'm sorry, what? I lost you.
She was the mannequin, and she had to go back.
Yeah. When I was a kid, I was afraid of mannequins, so when I saw that, I believed it.
So
But
that one, and the one where they finally take off all her she had all the plastic surgery, and she's gorgeous to us, but she didn't look like all the twisted people, and so she
yeah,
was going to be sent to an island to be with people of her kind. That's scary as hell. That's like this world today.
yeah, well, this world is fucked.
Yeah.
um,
That's another favorite.
so let's go back to Four Weddings and a Funeral. Did you see that in the theater?
Yes.
Um, Yeah, I don't know why I didn't see it because I've never seen it. It's from the same people who did Love Actually and all the movies
Mhm.
of that ilk.
It was before that.
Yeah, way before. I think it was the
Yeah.
first one in that series.
Yeah, no, that's definitely worth taking a look at. Um, yeah, Andy McDowell and Hugh Grant and just the whole cast was good. Um, you have to see, but yeah, it's good. It's it doesn't end altogether the way it's supposed to end altogether, but
I think that that makes a good movie because one thing that I'm getting sick of is movies are getting they're getting so predictable. Like it feels like every movie is just made now to meet a release date, and most of them are like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which I think is complete shit and an abomination to filmmaking because it's filmed by committee, and I think we're into this world where we have all these heavy franchises, which people for some reason think is what's going to make you know a lot of money, but you're missing the personal films. I think the last good one that I saw it on a plane was this movie called Anna and the Apocalypse.
hmm
Have you seen it?
hmm
This wonderful British zombie musical. And again, the ending surprised me with that one. I'm like, wow, this is total nihilist. and I'd also go with Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where he did the surprise ending where everybody lives, except for the Manson family.
yeah, that was Tarantino. I love Tarantino also. I have friends that if they can't follow A to B to C to D, they hate it. And they hated Pulp Fiction. And I'm like, he's telling it backwards. This is genius. And they're just like, that doesn't make any sense. And I'm like, it does if you just let your mind just travel. It's like, oh, that happened before that happened. And it's like, oh, that's genius.
It is genius because he was telling it like a novel.
Exactly. Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, exactly. Which I'm surprised so far. When this is the third one that we've done of these, has been on nobody's list so far.
Huh. Yeah, no, that's definitely, well, Tarantino is in general is on my list of directors that just I can't wait for his stuff to come out. And but it took me forever, and I'm like really upset with myself to realize that the joke that she was telling and the vaudeville act that she was a part of, Uma Thurman, was actually describing Kill Bill and all of the ladies in Kill Bill.
It's a little bit different. Kill
Not much.
No, I think Kill Bill is a movie that was based on the failed pilot of Fox Force 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the Tarantino movies have so many layers to it. Like there's the main Tarantino universe, then there's the film within a film universe, and then there's some characters who can go between both universes. It's like so genius. Um, where do you think films are going to go if movie theaters can't open up within the next year?
I think with so many things just going right to live streaming, I think that's hurt a lot of theaters. There's um there's a whole chain that isn't going to carry any of one of the,
Universal.
yeah,
AMC.
because it's live streaming. They're like, we're not going to do it.
Well, who knows if AMC is ever going to reopen?
True.
I mean, I was at a open mic with Diego like 3 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and he was telling me he drove down to Toledo to go see Tenet. And I'm like, I'm still at a point where I don't want to risk it.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of Christopher Nolan where I'm going to drive anywhere to see Tenet. If I was going to go see a movie in the theater, it would be the new Bill and Ted film. And even then, I'm right now content to wait for that to come on affordable streaming. But
Yeah, it's I don't know if they're going to get their big public back. I don't, I think a friend of mine has a friend in one of the Carolinas, and they have their theaters open. And I mean, that's the husband's main gig, and they're cutting his hours because people just aren't going. They have them open and they're socially distanced, so their revenue is down from there, and people aren't going because they're not ready. So that's that, that, and Mark Ridley's, and one night stands, and it's just like, yeah, how much longer can they hold on? It's scary.
I'm every day that we're shut down, I'm more and more getting more and more concerned about Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle not reopening, and I hope that's not the case, because to me that's still the best place to perform and see comedy,
Yeah,
and then the Showcase and One Night Stands right behind it. But I can't I can't imagine a world where that place doesn't exist.
I don't want to be a part of that world if that doesn't exist. It's just it's needed. And just to think of who's been there, and then you're on the same stage as these icons, is just insane,
It
you know.
is, and it sucks. Like I'm devastated because, like I think we talked about before, I was ready to make that jump from where I was to the next level right before all this hit, and I feel like, oh fuck, it's it's stalled. Everybody has gone to the sick. Everyone is at the start over position.
Well, Bill Morrison was supposed to have his first weekend there, being the MC host at Ridley's last month or this month.
Yeah, yeah, we all would have been there watching him.
Yeah, and yeah, it was supposed to be this month, and he had like a weekend at one night stands, and he's come out and just said, until there's a vaccine, I just can't. And I actually ran into him at the post office because he lives right by me, and I was 90% it was certain it was him, but his beard is like way long, and his hair is longer, and then he knew everybody's name at the post office, and he's like, "Hey, Nina," and I'm like, "All right, of course that's Bill." And he's asking how they are, and so I talked with him for a couple of minutes, but yeah, he says, Kroger and this is it, because he's made DVDs for the classes he teaches, and so now he's sending out DVDs to keep his paying gig going. He goes, but until there's a vaccine, he goes, that's all it's going to be. I'm just not going to put myself and my family at risk, and that's just how he's seeing it. And that's a huge loss, man. He was just smoking hot.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he was at that next precipice of it, and it's I've I'm gonna say it. I've seen a lot of the new people who've just started recently. They need the Ridley's class.
Yeah,
It's unfocused comedy.
yeah. There was a young kid that was at the show that you did, and he gave his information to Brenda, and he was just like, "How do I get started in comedy?" And I'm like, "Well," and I wrote him a whole email, just like the easy answer was you took a class at Mark Ridley's, and it gave you focus. And I said, now I'm like, there's a handful of open mics, and I gave him the names. And I said, but a lot of it is just watching and seeing what people do, and trying things out. But and hopefully, there will be classes eventually, and I would highly recommend them. But it's just like, I told him about the Michigan Comic Network, and groups on Facebook, so you can find out where the open mics are. But yeah, and just like, oh, you picked a bad time.
Well, it's always a bad time to start doing comedy
True.
because you do it for, like, I don't even remember why I started doing it. Oh yeah, to impress somebody. That's why. But no, it's a weird thing, and you have to have this messed up passion to keep putting yourself out there and hearing the dead silence until you have something that clicks.
Yeah.
like there are some amazing documentaries that I've been watching about stand-up, and I'm going to list a few while we're one is on Amazon Prime. It's called Inside Jokes. It's like a 6-episode series about these people trying to get the New Faces showcase at Just for Laughs. And like we think we have it hard. I mean, living in New York or LA and just trying to maneuver through those scenes, seems scary as fuck.
Yeah.
Another one is I think it's called 8 Weeks to 6 Minutes. It's a documentary about this guy who's in his 50s. He's a film editor, and he's taking a stand-up class and trying to get ready for his first showcase through the class. And I'm like, oh, I can relate to this because, we all took the class at Ridley's, and he put together a 1-hour documentary on it.
There's that, and then there's one they talk to like Sarah Silverman. They talk to just a ton of people, and they're like, it's actually so lonely. There's days where I get up and I go to the gig, but then I don't talk for another 24 hours until I go to the next gig. I just, you go home and you're by yourself in your hotel room, and it shows it's like incredibly lonely.
Yeah, and I mean, unless you're writing for a TV show or starring on one, the money's not that good either.
Mm-mm.
Like, I can't imagine right now just thinking about, because comedy doesn't exist, like, we know someone who, moved out to LA, and now I just see he's driving around the Americas Southwest going to shows. It's like, wow, you must already have the vaccine to be able to do that.
Yeah, no, I was in improv first, and there's so many people that have gone from Detroit, and they've been on, they taught my classes, and now Sam Richardson, who's on Veep, and Keenan and Peele, Key and Peele, and they're just taking off, and I know these people, it's all part of the improv crew, and it's crazy. Jamie Moyer, she has a super gravelly voice, and she's had like a bit part on Modern Family and Two Broke Girls, and she's doing all these big cameo character work. AP Bio, she was on, and it's just like, oh my God, Jamie, it's like crazy seeing these people, and they're making it work somehow, but it's hard, super hard.
It is, and you have to have that passion and the ability to fail.
Yeah.
Which is horrible. Like,
yeah.
Even when I have a good set, I beat myself up because I noticed that one mistake. Like at your show, I beat myself up because one punchline did not land as well as I thought it's going to. And plus I was kind of freaked out about having to turn around every couple minutes.
Yeah, we have that fixed. Tom is bringing out one of his stages, and it's going to be, you walk out of the green room and right up onto the stage, and you're facing the tent and the whole back. So everyone is just going to be straight back as opposed to all around you. Cool. So we have that fixed. Well, that is awesome. Yeah, I'm coming up on my 2-year stand-up. That's going to be December, January. I was watching Ellen's newest stand-up in 15 years, and looking, and she's talking about how she started and how she wrote her very first piece, and just where she went from there, and it just like the thought came across my mind, and she's just talking about her life. Well, that's all any of them are doing. I'm sorry,
Ellen and I have something in common. Like, I have a large staff that helps me produce this show that looks really crappy, and I abuse them all. I treat them like shit. I pay them like shit. And if they say anything, I will cut them. Well, I won't cut them. My cutter will cut them. And Look, I have to do that to maintain this level of perfection because I am America's sweetheart, and I have to maintain my image, as
Kara was killing me with all those pictures of you as Maria Von Trapp, I have to say.
Well, she's the reason why we're doing a musical episode.
I am glad to do it with her. She's so funny. It was killing me, those pictures. I'm like, oh, Kara, man.
She is. I mean, I've had people beg to be on that one, and I added Nicole Melnick. So actually, let's go. Let me just say, we will be back on Sunday for our next live episode. We will be doing queer cinema, which I am kind of scared to do because I mean I've seen a lot of movies that fall into that genre, but now I have to remember the bits and pieces that I liked about them.
Right.
And yeah, it's gonna be interesting. And then 2 weeks or 1 week from this Sunday, the episode the episode everyone is waiting to see, the musical episode. Will I sing? Probably not. But I am actually thinking about cutting like a little thing with the version when I put them on YouTube of actually like scenes from musicals interspliced in there, so I can actually have some sort of opening. Yeah, I'm probably gonna do that. But Sarah, when is your next show at the winery in New Hudson, Michigan?
That is going to be the day before the musical episode on October 10th. It's still outside, and they're bringing in some heaters, but bring your chairs, bring your blankets, and it's going to be an all-lady comic lineup, and it should be pretty kicking.
Who is all on it?
Kara Karachi is on it. Ellie Snyder is on it. Rashmi, Shelby Lane, Cindy Rockwell, Ann Duke, and two other ladies that are going to kill me because I can't think of it off the top of my head.
Well, chances are they will not be watching this, so if they are, I apologize. I've heard a rumor that my identical twin cousin, Roberta Schneider, will be on the stage.
Really? That would be entertaining.
And I know she has a set. She basically is like Gallagher too. She kind of takes my whole set, but from a female perspective. So I heard a rumor she might be showing up to headline the show.
That is always a possibility. Oh, Robin Gillerin, Cindy Rockwell. Yeah, Rashmi, Ellie, and Shelby and Kara.
Sounds like a great lineup. Show is free.
Show is free. All the wine you want to purchase, bottles in the parking lot are available, and if you're in the tent area, you can get wine service by the glass.
And if I recall on your post, this one starts at 6:30?
6:30, a little bit earlier since it's getting dark so much sooner and colder so much sooner.
Cool. And we will see you in a week and a half for the musical episode, which is going to be rocking. I have a real quick question because, we are thinking about this. Is Pitch Perfect considered a musical?
Is it a rom-com? Is it a musical? I guess it would be. I mean, it's based off of music.
It is, but it doesn't follow. All right. That one will have to be decided because Daryl and I were talking earlier about it, and he said Pitch Perfect is not a musical.
Yeah, I mean, it's about being musical, but musical is not the heart of the thing.
Huh. If there's a Broadway play based on it, I will consider it a musical. Because Footloose has become a musical on Broadway, and if I recall correctly, it is the toast of Broadway.
Well, Footloose, my brother went with my mom to see it, and my mother horrified my brother by dancing all the way out of the Old Orchard Theater. So there's that.
I bet your brother wished that Farmington Hills was a Midwest city where dancing was illegal.
At that point, yes.
All right, thank you so much. We will see you for our live show on Sunday, where we figure out the top 10 movies of queer cinema, and with Julia LaBelle, Christine Vidyajeski, and a couple other people, and my Google just activated itself, so you might hear that in a second. Thank you so much, and we will see you guys on Sunday.